What's up? Let y'all people in.
Morning.
Morning. All right, give it a few more minutes and then we'll jump in. Buenos dias. Buenos dias, Hector.
Anthony, how's your head doing?
No headache. We're good. We're back in business. I didn't even want to go to the ER. So my my sister's a nurse and I showed it to her. She's like, "You need stitches." I was like, "No, I don't. No, no, I
The
don't."
fact that you like finished your walk, like I have no excuse now.
My run.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I sent it to her, and then she was like, "You need stitches." I was like, "No, I don't." So I went to go clean it myself. Bought some of this stuff, and then it still was like kind of bleeding a little bit later, and then I started getting nauseous, and
Oh my God.
I was like, I should probably go. So I have one right down the road, and luckily, in and out in 40 minutes. The reason I don't like going to the ER is you got to sit around and wait all day. But this one, you could actually kind of get an appointment. It was weird.
Mhm.
Austin does it right. Back home, it doesn't do that.
I want to go visit Austin like in a few months because I am considering looking at places there. So we'll see.
You can stay here.
I I told my mom that I was like my coach is literally over there. So
Yeah, it's going to be set up for rental. So have a little 1 PB retreat here.
Mhm.
I'll have protein bars stocked up and everything ready to go. Cool. All right, let's jump in. So today we're talking about, let me close this. Let me minimize this. Today we're talking about why the speedier results are different and limited by your constraint, right? So this is sometimes you guys will see me post one transformation and some of you will get a little bit discouraged. You're like, why am I not seeing results that quickly, right? Because I mean, some of the transformations are pretty quick, right? We need to understand that everyone is different. Everyone has different genetics. Everyone has different constraints. Everyone goes to the gym a different amount of times because it's based on their schedule. So we'll dive into that a little bit. And Brent, you out there? You recognize this guy? I don't know if Brent's on the call, but. All right, so what determines how fast you make progress? It's not just effort, right? Unfortunately, it's how many resources your body can use to recover and grow, right? These resources influenced by your personal constraints, and constraints are literally just real life limits you're working with, right? Everyone has boundaries, constraints. Everyone's constrained by something, right? More or less. And they cap how fast or how much your body changes can make, and no matter how hard you train, right? Doesn't matter how hard you train, if you're not recovering, you're not going to grow much muscle, right? That's a simple example. But here's examples of different constraints that others might have. Training frequency, so 6 sessions per week versus 3 sessions per week. If you're going 6 times per week because you have more time, you're going to have more stimulus, right? You're training your muscles more frequently, harder, and you're going to have faster results. Simple as that, right? Generally, more is better based on your recovery. Sleep, if you're someone that's sleeping 8+ hours, you're gonna have optimal recovery, right? Less sleep, slower muscle growth, worse appetite control, right? Your willpower goes down, more fatigue. You're gonna be showing up to the gym tired, right? So hard to compare someone that's sleeping 7, 8+ hours to someone that is only, sleeping 5, maybe 6 hours. Those are constraints, right? Not everyone has the luxury to sleep 8+ hours. Right? Debatably, you can argue you can make time for it, but nutrition, right? Hitting your macros, especially protein calories, is a must. If that's inconsistent, results slow, right? Some of you are pretty consistent in your diet. You don't like to go out on the weekend. Some of you do, right? If someone that likes to meal prep every single day and stay in routine, it's just gonna be easier for them to stay on track versus someone that's not. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's just these things, these are little constraints. Stress levels. So high work, right? If you're in a high stress job or you have some family stress at work, you're gonna have more cortisol, which is worse for recovery, worse sleep, more water retention. So it's just another constraint. Genetics, right? Some people build or lose fat easier and faster, right? Some build muscle or lose fat easier and faster. You can't control this, but it does affect speed ultimately, right? And then your experience level, right? If someone that's just starting out, joins a program, gets strategies, those sorts of things, they're going to see results a hell of a lot faster versus someone that's been training the right way for 5, 10 plus years, right? Those newbie gains are very real. Advanced lifters make slower, smaller progress. You get close to your genetic ceiling ultimately. And then injury history or limitations, right? Restrict exercise selection, volume, intensity. Like if you have a bad back, you can't do certain exercises, right? That because of prior injuries, car accidents, whatever it may be. That's a constraint ultimately that we got to work with. My job as your coach, it's my job to help you optimize the things you can control, right? Get the most out of what we're limited by. I'm going to give you a plan that works within your lifestyle, right? That's my job, not against it, right? If you tell me, again, this is why day one, like realistically, what are we working with? Tell me your constraints. What kind of box we working with, right? And then I got to work with that sort of box. My job again, help you manage stress, sleep, recovery, not just workouts ultimately. But we do need to understand, right? You don't need perfect circumstances. You just need a clear plan that gets the most out of what you got. And just carrying on to that, right? Speed varies, progress doesn't have to stop. Just because you can't sleep 8 plus hours, just because you can't work out six whatever day, like just because things aren't perfect, you don't need to wait until your constraints are, because reality is your current ones are your what you're already in line with your lifestyle, right? So learn to work with and get the most out of what you're working with, and don't just be like, oh, I'm gonna wait for the perfect time, because reality is the perfect time never comes about. And back up, realize that what you're doing now pretty much is your normal, is your constraints. So why not fucking learn to live with it and get the most out of it, right? So, for example, 1 pound loss per week is fast for someone sleeping 5 hours per night and training 2 times per week, right? If you're losing 1 pound per week, you're only sleeping 5 hours, training 2 times per week, like that's good progress. That's really good progress. Gaining 1 to 2 pounds of muscle in a month is excellent, right? If you're advanced and stressed, right? Just understand stress levels, sleep, recovery, et cetera, matter. Whether you're sprinting or jogging, this is important. Whether you're sprinting or jogging, you're still moving forward, and that's the whole game, right? And that's the whole point. Don't make excuses. You're just understand your constraints and maximize them. Get the most out of what you got to work with. Genetic, right? Genetics constraint. Genetics does play a role in how much muscle you build, the rate of your fat loss, like where you lose the fat, those sorts of things. But there's two things to think about when we're talking about genetics. There's physiological, which is like what your body's built, like the build of your body. Think of mostly like muscle fiber types. So there's that you can be either mostly fast twitch, which means you're built to grow and lift heavy weights, put it that way. Like you get more benefit out of, let's say, the 5 to 10 rep range. Or are you mostly slow twitch? Yeah, you might be better at endurance. Hypertrophy will be slower, right? Muscle growth will be a little bit slower for you if your genetic makeup is mostly slow twitch. Just things might be a little bit slower. That's a thing. That's a thing we got to learn to work with. Muscle insertion points, right? Think about like, people have like they say they really have small calves or really bad biceps, like the insertion, which is where the muscle inserts into your joints or tendon here, like this little gap that plays a role. Like some people, their inserts go all the way down and they just naturally have fuller, bigger biceps. Like those are small things. So some people have muscle bellies, this is what I just talked about, that make them look more jacked early. Others don't. That's not effort. That's anatomy. It's anatomy, right? You got to work with it. Recovery capacity. Some people can train 5, 6 times a week and feel fine. Others burn out after 3 hard sessions. It's genetics in that case. And then hormonal profile, right? Some people have naturally higher testosterone or maybe better insulin sensitivity. Yes, you can improve these things. Yes, for sure. But we're talking about from a natural genetic standpoint, and can increase growth and recovery, pretty much speed of results. So that's physiological. And then there's psychological, right? Psychological genetics, which is how hard you can push yourself. There's like pain tolerance and a discomfort threshold, right? Everyone has a different pain tolerance and ability to kind of deal with that discomfort. Like, can you train to true failure, or does discomfort shut you down early, right? That matters a ton, right? Because to grow muscle, you got to push failure. But if you don't have that psychological, those demons in you to really push it, that could play a role. Motivation circuits, right? Some people just have more drive and focus even when tired or stressed, right? They're just built different. They're just built different, wired differently. Can you work on these things? Yes, but just naturally, some people are and not. Stress sensitivity. So some people have high anxiety, reactivity makes sticking to plan a little bit harder, raises your cortisol. So just some people generally just like high stress, like they're just kind of always wired, more or less. And then impulse control, struggle with food decisions, genetics might play a role in satiety and craving regulation too, right? These are just different genetic constraints. So how do you know if you have good or bad genetics? So if you get stronger every week, recover fast, stay lean with moderate effort, right? You're chilling, but you're still getting stronger, you're still recovering, you're still lean. You probably have, pretty good genetics. If you don't respond quickly, have to train very hard for small returns, and your body seems resistant to fat loss, likely have average or below genetics, right? Does that mean you just don't work out? No, no, you just gotta keep pushing. Again, but it doesn't matter. Ultimately, this really doesn't matter because you can still get amazing results. It just takes more patience and smarter strategy, ultimately. And most people never get close to their genetic ceiling anyway, right? They quit too early. A lot of people are quick to blame genetics, but then you're like, okay, well, are you consistently training? They're like, no. Are you consistent with your diet? No. Well, shut up. Stop talking about genetics, right? If you're not doing the basics, just don't, I don't want to hear genetics. Key takeaways. Everyone's speed of progress is limited by personal constraints, not just willpower, or effort. Constraints equals lifestyle limits like sleep, time to train, stress levels, diet quality, injury history, and genetics. More training plus better recovery equals faster progress, but only if you can recover from it. Only if you can recover from it. Sleep is huge, right? Less than 7 hours per night slows fat loss, muscle gain, and ultimately recovery. Recovery is the main one there. Stress matters. Chronic stress increases your cortisol levels, which reduces your recovery, worsens sleep, makes fat loss harder, makes muscle building harder, and also you retain a little bit more water. And then genetics set your ceiling, but consistency determines if you reach it. That's important. Beginners make faster gains, newbie gains, advanced lifters need a little more effort, for smaller progress. You can't compare your speed to someone else's. They may have fewer constraints than you, right? My job is to maximize results within your limits. I never demand perfection. Like I said, day one, it's never going to be perfect, right? I'm trying to give you the most with what you tell me you can work with. That's reasonable, sustainable for you guys. Your goal isn't to go fast. Your goal is to go nonstop, right? Jog or sprint, summer, maybe time to jog. Other times, maybe time to sprint. Again, we did a master class on this. Sometimes we jog, sometimes we sprint, but we just keep moving forward, right? And that's ultimately the whole brand behind 1% Better Coaching. Ultimately, just move forward no matter what's ahead of us. We're not waiting for perfect. We're getting it done one way or another. Q&A. What do we got? Let me see. What happens? Hector, what do you mean what happens? What happens? What happened? I'm making an army of gymatics. That's the goal. That's the goal. Out of all the people in the world, how many of them are actually gymatics, right? Don't you want to be above average? Don't you want to be above average?
100%. I'm there. I'm locked in.
I know you are. No, you are.
Does that thirst increase?
Thirst. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it usually does until you get to where you're like, hell yeah, I look good and you're kind of closer to your genetic ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, That's kind of for me, that's where thirst kind of slowed down a little bit. But
Okay.
everyone's different. Like some people, I mean, I don't know what you might wake up 2 years from now and be like, I want to be, I want to step on stage, right? So
Yeah.
at that point, who knows what's next for you. But the thirst, I'd say the thirst can slow down, but also it could speed back up later too. It
Okay.
really depends on where you're at in life, like what's main priority. Obviously, you still want to look the best you possibly want to look, but like when
Mm-hmm.
you are the best you possibly look, like how far do you want to take it at that point, right? And
Yeah.
that's where like competitions come into play.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hector said, "What happened with your head?" I said in the beginning, but I was running a branch hit me and busted my head open, and I needed two staples. I really didn't want to go to the ER, but I ended up going. They stapled me, and we're good. We got our workout in. We're good. We're here. We're living. We're breathing. We move forward. Ultimately, cool. Any other questions? No. Cool. Awesome. All right. If you guys have questions as they come up throughout your workday or whatever you may be doing, no more jokes about the boys running into the trees. If you guys have questions as they come up, shoot me a message. But otherwise, everyone have the best Tuesday of your entire motherfucking life. And we'll talk soon. Peace.